Welcome to the Dream Life is Real Life podcast with your host, Hanna Hermanson, bringing you real life stories of people who realized their dreams to educate and inspire you to create your legacy of abundance now.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we are hanging out with Johnathan Grzybowski. Johnathan is a rogue risk taker turned entrepreneur and national thought leader in business development and digital marketing. He is the co-founder of Penji, an on-demand graphic design membership site without limitations. Penji helps you achieve more with unlimited graphic design and a flat monthly rate, all powered on their easy-to-use platform. Johnathan is also the host of the #1 business podcast, Blind Entrepreneurship. His mission with his podcast and business is to empower the next generation of entrepreneurs so they can execute their vision. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to talk about life and business and everything else.
Beautiful. Yeah. So tell us what you mean by being a rogue risk taker. Tell us a little bit about, something we don't know about you.
Yeah, I would say every situation that I've ever gotten in my earlier days and even up until now, it's always been like the path of, I guess, the most destructive path, so to speak. It's always been that path of like, should I be doing that? It's risky. Do I need to take this risk right now? My parents would always question me why I thought the way that I did because of just my approach to just problem solving. It's a very efficient way, I must say, but I just feel like throughout my entire life has always been very rogue. None of my parents are entrepreneurs. They are all blue collar, hardworking professionals. There isn't anybody in my family that's an entrepreneur. So this mentality of way I live my life now, which is running a business and being an entrepreneur and business professional and et cetera, I would say is very rogue. So that's kind of like the idea of what it means for me, at least, to be rogue, because I'm unlike a lot of other people within my particular family.
I can totally relate to that. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. My parents both work for the state in some capacity. And so, yeah, I can definitely understand some of that of like.
Do they understand like what you do?
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
They've come around to like trying to ask questions.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different way of operating in the world and talking or thinking about work or
100%. Yeah.
Paid. Yeah.
It's hard to find those. I mean, that's kind of like, I'm sure why the podcast is the way that it is, because it's hard to find people that are like that. And it's tough not being able to go to your family members and being like, hey, I'm having this problem today. They're going to be like, that's nice. Anyways, right? You
could always get a job and not worry about this. That's what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
Totally. Move home and work from here.
Absolutely. I get that to this day. And it's actually really interesting because we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary of Penji, and I invited my parents to the party. We had about like 50 people there. So it was a pretty packed house. And my mom came up to me and came up to me and said, hey, it seems like you're doing well, but I still don't know what you do. And I was just like, I've told you what I've done so many times. Like how are you still confused? But it is what it is, right?
Right. So let's go back in your story a little bit. How did you were always a unique problem solver. You thought differently than the people around you, but how did you break into entrepreneurship? Is this your first endeavor, or what's the backstory?
I've started the entrepreneurship journey at 14. I got a small taste at just mowing lawns. And I see it's very common to most people's start is doing some type of labor intensive work, but I think it really taught me the foundation of like who I am today, which is hard work pays off and the value of a dollar, because I would start to equate things like in terms of like mowing lawns. So I mowed lawns and like raked leaves and shoveled snow, and so every time I would buy something I would be like, how many how many lawns do I have to mow in order to buy this? And that was kind of like my justification system for myself internally. And so I would just like, if I wanted to buy that video game, I'd be like, is this video game going to bring me 3 lawns worth of information, of joy? And if the answer is yes, then I'd buy it. If the answer is no, then, whatever. But then I began a career, my only real job, I would say, with Apple. And I worked under like the business development portion of Apple, and I just became really sad and really lonely and depressed. And I couldn't pinpoint why for a while, but then I watched a couple of like videos and read a couple books, and here we are, almost 7 years later, and this is our 3rd or 4th business, and this is by far the most fun that I've ever had in my entire life, because we're solving such an incredible problem that a lot of people have, and that's graphic design, finding the right graphic designer.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that mentality a lot of listeners will relate to, like growing up and thinking like, is exchanging my time and my effort and my work, like what value is that going to bring to my life? I remember when I was in middle school, I didn't think that way at all. I guess it would have been high school, because my friend got a job and we were at the mall, and she was like, okay, this t-shirt is $14. That's like 2 hours of work. Yeah. And I used to think, well, if I wear it 14 times, it's like, I'll get $1 worth for every time I wear it. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that mindset you had.
Totally.
And the other thing I think listeners are probably curious about is that transition from Apple and the desk job into your your own business. So Can you tell us about that time of your life, and what was it that finally gave you the pink slip or the escape from the 9 to 5?
I think nowadays it's like cool to quit your job, given like the current trends in entrepreneurship and the amount of followers that people have on social media. But I can say in full transparency that that's not what it was when I started. When I literally quit because I just couldn't have it. And it wasn't necessarily like the ego thing telling me that like I can do it myself. Like I don't need this job, I can do it all on me. It was more so like I was trying to find a problem, and I was trying to make myself happy and do something that I knew that I liked doing, which was helping people, talking to people, and providing solutions for them. And it just so happened that I was a creative person, that I was the type of person that understood marketing for at least at that time, a very general basic level. And I knew that my abilities, I guess my ego then later kind of combed me a little bit and said, like I'm good at talking to people, so why not just, explore my strength. And I kind of did the math. I said, okay, I need like 5 to 10 customers in order for me to break even with where I was going to charge the customers versus what I was getting paid. And I just realized that if I talk to 100 people, then I'm pretty sure I can at least get one person, right? Yeah. And then that wasn't the case, believe it or not. It took about like 3 months before I got like a real customer. But then we started to grow from there. It was just me at the time. And one of the hardest things that I was having an issue with was finding a graphic designer, because I am not a graphic designer. I am more on the business and strategy side than I am on the actual creative side. So when it came to finding a designer, I ended up doing a lot of the designs myself. And again, I'm not qualified to do it at all. So you can imagine the type of quality that was delivered to people. And so we went on freelance websites. We tried to hire students. We tried to outsource all of these different types of like projects, and like none of these solutions made sense. So that's when the whole idea behind Penji came through, is how can we, among many other things is the reason why Penji, but that was kind of like what led us to where we are today.
So much value in that story. And something I hear from entrepreneurs or wannabe-preneurs is, well, what should I offer? and they're looking around for like, what is the thing? And so often it comes down to solving a problem for yourself or a former version of yourself and figuring out what that solution is, as opposed to like, should I be a business coach? Should I start a course? It's like, solve a problem that you're excited. Like you said, now you're excited and you enjoy doing this kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you. If you're not solving a problem, I think that's why the first business, one of the businesses, didn't fail per se, but didn't grow as much as we would have hoped it for, which was our last digital marketing agency. And that was because we weren't solving a problem. We were solving a problem, but it wasn't a large enough problem. Like, for example, we did digital marketing and web development and web design and all that. Like, we were a full service marketing agency. I'm pretty sure everybody has a general idea of what that means. Mm-hmm. And finding customers was so difficult because you could kind of like, anybody could use your service, but do a lot of people need your service? So that was like a huge learning point for us, was just to be able to focus on one thing. And so now with Penji, we only deliver unlimited graphic design. So if you don't need graphic design, then we're not a fit for you. And there's a ton of lessons in between all of that, but that's like the general scope.
Yeah, I hear this story or this sort of progression of events in a lot of episodes where guests will talk about they start out being the jack of all trades. They just need to monetize something, or they just need to, they're in action. So they're doing everything for everyone. Yeah. And that's just not sustainable or scalable. Like you found, it's like, okay, we need to niche down, zero in, offer one thing that's going to solve a bleeding neck or a real problem.
Yeah. I think you can become successful at being a jack of all trades. I think you can be moderately successful, but I just think it depends on the personality. Mm-hmm. But I also think it depends on what your goals are in your life. Because if you're okay with making $100,000 or whatever it is, 50, 20,000, I don't know, whatever the number is that pops in your head, then you can be okay with just being the jack of all trades and that go-to person throughout your community. But for what we wanted to do was much greater. And so how can you build a business around what our actual goals were? And that's kind of like what led us down to the path of where we are now.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the team that you have now, and how did it go from just you starting out with the marketing agency idea to now you keep saying we. So I'm really curious what the landscape of the organization is now.
I say we, not, I mean, I didn't even realize that I keep saying we.
Are you a twin?
No. Are you?
I have a cousin, cousins that are twins, and then one of those twins married a twin, and all four of them like say we way more than they say I. It's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when I say we, I constantly think of our team. So we have a team of 35, and so for us, when I just feel that we do all this together. It's not about me anymore. In the very beginning, it was about me because it was me, my co-founder, and a couple of other people. So it was just that. But now we're a team and we move together. What the team looks like now from what it once was, I think it was like a group of people in the very beginning, but now it's like an actual family. And if you ever were to do your research about Penji and our team, we hire people from Camden, New Jersey, which is known for a lot of negative things. And so we're trying to reshape the landscape and provide opportunities to inner city youth and residents in our community. And we've really became just a close, tight-knit family. And so when we come up with ideas, we kind of we kind of move along together. Of course, there's people steering the ships, but we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, and it was just like I was with a group of people that I love, and that we moved together, and we accomplished things together, and we failed together. And it's just unlike any other experience I've ever had. Maybe you can ask me that question again when we're even more, but I think that's such a beautiful thing, is once you find people treat them as employees and hold them accountable. But I think you can also shine your soft side a little bit and actually let them in and let them know how valuable they really are to you, because they're the people that are making your dream a reality. So what can you do in order to make their dream a reality? And I think that's something I constantly think about on a daily basis.
Oh, I love that. I was going to ask you for ways to be doing that. How do you foster this family relationship, especially with, sounds like a bit of startup culture that can sometimes be difficult to navigate, but you all are celebrating an anniversary and feeling like family. So besides thinking about this kind of mutual dream building, what are other things that you recommend leaders take into consideration as they're growing their team, especially quickly?
I would say understanding what your team wants with work, like while working for you or with you. Something that we always ask every time that we interview somebody, or we ask two questions: what is your dream, and how can we help you obtain your dream, or what can we do in order to support your dream? And you have to be okay with the answers that are given to you. So it could be, hey, I'm just here to learn from you. And you need to be okay with that. Or the other side is like, I want to grow a career here, and I want to grow alongside with you, and I want to be successful when you're successful, et cetera, et cetera. And so, I mean, maybe the dream could just be like, I want to make a lot of money. Like, you just have to be okay with whatever it is that dream is. And so that transparency and level of care that we have, I think that's what has allowed us to be where we are. Now, when it comes to other people, it depends on the culture. And that's a whole nother conversation, is like a lot of companies, especially when they're small, they try to push their culture into the company, but they don't necessarily do the due diligence to ask questions and to find out like what's important to the team. They find out what's important to the person that's leading the company. And so like my values and what I believe in are, yes, closely aligned with what Penji is, but there are other things that I believe in that maybe the company doesn't. But as long as it's what we're moving together, that's what makes all the difference.
Yeah. What I keep thinking as you're talking is like, you've got to park the ego when building these kind of teams. Cause it was your idea. It started out with you and your co-founder, but now you're bringing on all these other dreams and personalities and values. And it's like you said, it's not about you anymore. And so where do you see your role in like 5 years? What is your goal for your dream for the company? Yeah.
I guess I love working, so I don't mind being not exactly where we are, but in the business doing what we can. But I mean, there's other aspirations that we all have as well. Penji, this version of Penji isn't what the version of Penji 5 years from now will be. I think the consistent theme that I will say is, as we grow as a company, we will continue to be delivering more valuable solutions for businesses. And so what that looks like today or tomorrow, who knows? But for me, I would love to be able to just survey and be able to analyze and look at the business from a 30,000 foot view versus like at the ground level. Because I think the minute that you're able to take yourself and remove yourself out of the equation instead of the day-to-day activity, then that's when you can really start to see greatness. And you need to have that balance of being able to see it at both views at the same time, and still being able to remove yourself. But I think I would rather be like maybe an 80-20 balance of just constantly looking overview and being like, okay, this person's, I'm just using an example, but this person's out of place. We need to be able to shift the training regimen around the company, or the process is taking too long, or whatever it may be. Like, those minute details make the world of difference.
Yeah, keep being the visionary, but keeping that groundedness and that balance of still knowing what's happening in the weeds, or at the every day-to-day level. And I think a lot of like solopreneurs or small business owners that are listening to this can start implementing that, even if they don't have a team. Like, you really talked about what your role would look like. And I think that anyone who's looking to either maintain or grow the company or the lifestyle they have right now, yes, being mostly a visionary, thinking about progress and innovation, and then always having those,
Yeah, it comes down to your goals, right? Like if you want to have a lifestyle where you travel 90% of the time, then you need to like write down on a piece of paper, how are you going to be able to make that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Again, for us, it's different.
Yeah.
We fundamentally have different goals in mind than like an average person. And so that's just how we're structuring the business in order to fit what it is that we want to inevitably obtain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. So the culture is sounding super inspiring, and we know you're solving a problem that a lot of our listeners might have. So can you walk us through what like the user experience is, or people listening to this podcast who are like, oh yeah, I am not qualified to be doing my own graphic design either. They type in Penji.com, and what do you hope the user experience is, or what could we expect?
Well, I hope we can obtain Penji.com at one point in the URL, but Penji.co or just Google Penji. Either way.
Good clarification.
Okay. Yeah, you'll still be able to find it. But Penji, I'm not even going to get into what Penji.com goes to. But anyways, if you need graphic design, right? If you're hiring, if you feel as if that hiring an in-house designer is too expensive, if you are doing the designs yourself, if you're tired of finding freelancers or interviewing freelancers online, those are probably the most common ways that why somebody would want to use Penji. But Penji offers unlimited graphic design all at one flat monthly rate. Starts at $349 a month, and we can design as much as we possibly can for you within that month. So it works very similar to like a queue system. So you submit 100 projects. We'll work on the first one and the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get done as much as we possibly can throughout the month. We have a maximum deadline of 48 hours, but we tend to deliver things daily. So you should be able to receive your designs that you want in a relatively quick time period. And then we just repeat it throughout the month until you're either done using Penji, you don't need it anymore, or we become your long-term solution for all your graphic design needs.
Wow. Yeah, that is such a good solution for so many people who are doing a lot on their own. Yeah, exactly like you said. Yeah. Very cool. So is it like every kind of design? I know people can go look at this, but I know a question I get a lot is, I need a logo. Mm-hmm. Is that something you do as well as like formatting?
It's a logo, web design, app design, pitch decks, sales sheets. The only things that we won't do are like AutoCAD and animation stuff. But everything else, we've even done children's books. So
cool.
It's like there isn't really anything that we can't do when it comes to if it involves Photoshop or if it involves InDesign, then we can deliver it for you. So
great. Very good. I want to switch gears a little bit here and move into the pop quiz round. You mentioned you've designed a children's book, so I'm sure you're going to do great with a pop quiz. But just 3 last quick questions for you. And the first one is, what is something you recommend people do today, like an exercise or a action step that they can take to get closer to their dream life?
Think of all the crap that you do in your day and think about all the time that you waste doing whatever it is that you shouldn't be doing. Mm-hmm. And then focus only on the things that matter throughout your day. Like, for example, I'll tell you like what's going on in my day. Like today, this is as real as it gets, people. I will literally read it to you. The most important task that I need to do today is to review all of the advertising copy for this month. Nothing else matters except that. I have like 10 other goals that I have for that day. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, you will only do the easy things first.
Yeah.
because that's just like the most obvious thing to do. But to really focus on that one thing is extremely difficult. So I would say do the easy thing and the most important thing first. And if you don't accomplish any of the other things, like if I don't accomplish any of this other stuff, my life is going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But if I don't complete this one thing, then I can say it can be harmful to the business at a later date. And that's the action item. Focus on the things that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get up and eat that big frog.
Yeah,
Have you read that book?
No, I haven't, but I like the analogy.
Yeah, it's the same idea. Like if you knew you had to eat a frog today, would you wait all day knowing it's going to happen?
I like that.
Worry about it. Or just eat the dang frog and like the rest of your day is good. Yeah. All right. Very good. The second question is, what is a tangible resource? Maybe it's a book that changed your life or another resource that you would recommend listeners getting their hands on.
I would say the tangible resource would be, I lean towards podcasting. And I just think that the way that you're able to, when you create a podcast or some public platform in order to get people to talk to you on, I think it makes the world of difference. So it could be like I'm obsessed with John Mayer's content. And so he created like a really cheap, if you follow him, I think he's really, really intelligent, but he has like his own little Instagram series, like a show that every Sunday, I forget what it's called, A Current Mood, I think it is. It's just a really funny way to just like promote other artists and stuff like that. And so, and like you have a podcast, obviously, and I have a podcast. So it's just like giving people that platform to be able to just share their story. I think it creates a very intimate relationship. Like I'll never forget this conversation. I'll never forget the opportunity that you've given me because I'm sharing my story in front of your audience. And so it just, that relationship that is being built is really difficult to come by. So my answer is you can do all the tools that you want, but I think finding a platform where you can build a friendship with these people, I think will make the difference.
It's so like prehistoric almost. Like this is the way we made connections forever. Like we sat around, we shared stories, we like talked. And so I love that. Now we have a lot of technology and tools, like you said, but bring it back to the basics and find ways to start good conversation.
100%.
Awesome. All right. The last question for you, Johnathan, is where can people stay connected with you, maybe start a conversation, and learn more about Penji?
Yeah, just go to penji.co if you like anything that I have said and believe in as a human being, and if by some odd chance you have a need for graphic design, we'd love to be able to help you out. So just penji.co.
Thank you so much. I know a lot of listeners will at some point need graphic design. So I hope that they are taking notes and go to penji.co. Johnathan, thank you so much for your time today. Keep on grinding and living the dream.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back next week with another inspiring thought leader that'll help make your dream life your real life.
You've been learning how to make your dream life your real life with Hanna Hermanson. To get the resources mentioned on today's show and to listen to past episodes, visit www.dreamlifeisreallife.com.